Welcome back to Conversations Over Coffee. I am your guy, your host, Chris Warren here. And this is our Mother's Day special. I'm here with my favorite mom, not my actual mom, but she is a mom. My wife, Denise. How's it hanging, mother?
It's good. It's a Saturday. We're living life, taking a break.
Yeah. I figured we would put together a little, Mother's Day special. Nothing, huge, to just, talk about moms a little bit and what they've taught us, what they mean to us, all that great mom stuff.
Okay.
That being that, I think it said, I read something a while back that it's, what's that, one of the most, I think it's second, or maybe number one. No, I think it's the second most, celebrated holiday.
I would imagine Christmas would be the first.
First, yeah, I think it is. But yeah,
Okay.
and Father's Day, unfortunately, follows all the way down there. Yeah, the bottom.
Well, sadly,
I need to relook at that.
not everybody has an active dad in their life. So,
Yeah, man, we tend to split. Just say, hey, forget you. I just wanted to, ask you, did you have any, stories or anything about your mom that won't make you tear up? Because neither one of our mothers are here in the physical, but they're here in the spirit. So nothing that's gonna make you ball out on the podcast. Let's make it happy.
I mean, I'm full of stories about my mom. Is there any particular
No,
situation, circumstance?
yeah, you can go. Yeah,
Gosh.
I know. I would probably start first, but I don't really have anything like memorable stories. Really. My mom. You know my mom. She was almost like a lone wolf a little bit.
But I met your mom later on in her life, so I don't know,
Yeah.
when she was
Uh,
young and you were young, how things
I
were.
just remember her. She was when she was before she got sick. I felt like she was a well put together woman.
She was definitely very fashion
Yeah, just
conscious.
just just a sharp, you know, lady, you know, in general, and she liked to go out and she thought she was what did we say? She thought she was a hot girl,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Yeah, she wanted to be still young, but had, kids, and she believed in hanging out. She would drink. She was just a party person, but she did work. You know what I'm saying? And she did, provide the best of her, abilities. She might didn't do them perfect like me and you talk. Like sometimes she might forget, paying the light bill or something like that because she went out, you know, on the weekend. But I think we had a solid relationship. I didn't hate my mom or nothing. It just wasn't like, probably tight like most people. And I think she gave me, a few life lessons. You know,
I mean,
you
I think
know.
you had a pretty typical relationship with your mom. I
Hmm.
think I had a uniquely
Yeah.
very merged relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you grew up, you moved out, you went on adventures, but you guys were always still in contact and always still
Oh
loved
yeah.
one another. So
Yeah, there was never that, but it's like almost like like I said, she was like secluded, and she was like, okay, after I'm finished, raising my kids, they'll, know what to do. I'm not gonna baby them, anything like that. I mean, we could always come back home, but we didn't, do that. I try my best not to be that kid,
well,
you
and
know.
I think especially when we're in a kid mindset, we have a parent mindset. You forget that your parents, they're people too, and
Mm-hmm.
they're figuring it out like we're figuring it out. If for me, I feel like now, um, as I'm maturing, it's like, did my mom feel like this too? Like on
Mm-hmm.
the inside, I feel like I'm 28 years old, still trying to figure out life, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm a grown person with a fairly important job where people count on me and listen to my advice, and it's like, are you sure? I'm only 28. Do I do
Mm-hmm.
and it's, they were doing, oh my gosh, I survived, or I'm responsible. They felt those same things too. So
Yeah, and like I said, my mom, I give her grace because it's like I'm pretty sure it's rough out there because we don't really know about single moms. If you're like a single mom, you really don't know. you know, how hard it is if you got like two, three, and four. You know, some women got six kids and they have to, and that's like, I hate to say it, you love your kids, but that's sad. And
Well,
depressing, you don't have any help. You know, some people might not have family, you know, like we have, and they just got to hold it down themselves.
well, it's physically and emotionally hard, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, my mom did that for, you know, years. You know, I mean, she had a few boyfriends, you know, here and there, but with her boyfriends, they're just people just passing through, you know, life with you, you know. So it is what it is, man.
Well, what's a funny story you can remember about a time with your mom?
That's the sad thing about it is like I can't remember, you know, any. You know, only thing I just know we just used to when she was in good spirits and good health, we just joked a lot, probably.
Okay.
You know, and those was funny. And I always used to like, you know, make her laugh so hard. There's been a couple times I made her laugh so hard she cried, you know, like that. But I just remember us, you know, the biggest memories is us, you know, hanging out, you know, and going shopping and stuff like that, and weekly, you know, calls when I did move out. You know, like what you doing? I'm like, nothing, just you know, sitting here. You know, what about you?
Oh gosh. My mom, she was such an adventuresome spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and her motto was take me with her so she knows what I'm doing and she
Mm-hmm.
can make sure I'm okay. So, like, I think about we went on a trip to the Bahamas and a hurricane came, and instead of bunkering down and being scared, we were out in the rain and going out to dinner and treading through puddles. And for some reason, we were on our way somewhere. It was raining like the dickens. We were holding our shoes in our hand because we were in like ankle deep water. And she was singing Uchi Coochie La La La, that
Oh
song
my
from the
God.
90s. And so it's
Oh
like,
my God.
what?
That was good times. Were y'all drinking?
Yes, it
Oh
was an all
Lord.
inclusive resort.
Oh man. You talking about the Bahamas? Yeah, a lot of people do that. You know, that's a good, you know, getaway. You know, how much do you think your mom drunk?
Um, she never got out of control, but she would drink enough and kind of maintain to have a strong buzz, but never. I've only seen my mom like sloppy drunk one time, and that was actually not on that vacation, but on a trip to the Bahamas again.
Getting drunk is like I don't know how some people can do it, and then people have these weird stories talking about, yeah, I think I actually slept with a couple of people drunk. It's like I've never been that drunk. Like
Mm-mm.
it's like I've had a hangover, you know, and regretted it, you know, definitely, and it straightened me up. What about you?
I don't want to be out of my senses, so I've
Mm-mm.
been highly buzzed, but never like I didn't know what was
Um,
going on in the
yeah, when
world.
I've fallen asleep in a bathtub, you know, and yeah, I think I told you that.
Yeah, I do
For instance,
remember
yeah,
that.
and I'm like in my roommate's bathroom. I'm like, yeah, can't do that too much. Yeah, yeah. So that was a what? How many years ago was that?
I
You
might have
think?
still been in college
Ooh,
then, so
you graduated college when? When was that?
1999.
Wow, that was the year I graduated. Holy shit!
I'm
Yeah.
a cougar cub.
Mm-hmm.
What's something that your mom's done that has made you the angriest?
The angriest. I just feel like for me, it's like probably a few things. It's like there's been a couple of times that she would do like certain stuff. Like I couldn't pinpoint one thing, but it's like I felt like the adult, and it's like you know she's the kid, you know the child. I'm like really like certain stuff. I remember before my mom had a you know boyfriend or whatever. It's like she would just let her car maintenance go to crap. And I would come home and I'm like we would go somewhere and she's like, we'll drive my car and we'll get in the car. I'm like, what is that noise? You know, and I'm like, we need to handle that noise. And come to find out, she needed an oil change and brakes. It'd be like a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm like, you have to keep up with this stuff, like every 6 months at least. You know, so I'm pretty sure like that stuff, like you know, maybe like there's been a couple times like car stuff. You know, like I'm like, you can't just be ripping the streets like wilding out like you're 20. You know, like come on, we have to do adult stuff here. What
What she think
about?
was gonna happen? It was just gonna magically fix
Do you
itself?
know there's just some? You know, there's just some people that are not car people. I mean, like I'm not a super car person, but when I start hearing some tings and lights start flashing, and it's like I'm driving on the road and my lights start flashing, and I'm like, okay, it's time to do something. What about you?
Um, I didn't like when my mom kept stuff from me. Like
Where?
if she was having a hard time with something, or if we
Mm,
were struggling with money, it's like you don't have to bear that burden alone.
yeah.
Um, and give it to me real so I can try to help you figure out what to do.
Yo, yeah. Oh, yeah. Which every kid should probably agree with you. You know, you're like you don't want your parents to keep like secrets, but parents do keep secrets. You know, especially I don't want to be like it sound like an old geezer or anything like that. But what's the new generation of parents? Or
I don't
but the
know.
fun thing is they're saying on the news less and less women are having kids now. Like so, it's like maybe they ain't really no new age parents right now. You
Well, I
know?
think those new age parents are they're in that mental health realm, and they kind of are telling their kids too much, or allowing them to see too much or
Yeah,
do too much. It's
you're
not a lot of parenting going on. It's more friends and
yeah. No, I'm not your friend. I am not your friend. You know, that's one thing I you know tell Dylan all the time when he gets like this. I'm like, we're not your buddies. You know, we're here on a mission to watch you succeed in life. You know, but yeah, that's kind of scary. What kind of future will be for these new parents? But
well, I was we're hiring young people for the summer at my job, and they had to come in and do some paperwork and get a drug test. And I would say out of the 100% of kids who came, easily, easily 90% of the parents did the talking for the kid.
good
And it's
God,
like, we're here for your job, for you to do your paperwork. You can't even come in and tell me your name. You're looking at your mom.
that's something my mom would never do. She would stand over to the side, definitely, and be like, yeah, she would never do that because she's like, I've had. She be like, that's what my father, did. My grandfather was like, a pretty tough guy.
Well, and if your parents always taking care of everything for you, when are you
Mm,
going to learn how to take care of yourself?
yeah, and then when they're not around, it's like you're like, ah, man, this sucks, man.
Makes me feel better about me trying to encourage, force Dylan to speak for himself, even for simple things
Yeah,
like when we go to a restaurant and order food. Speak up and tell her what you would like.
yeah. That's your. What do you think? Why do you think there's so much of a big bond between boys and their mothers? That's the
Gosh.
question that people, moms, if you're listening, ask yourself that. Ask yourself that question. Do you know what's the top thing that just makes it that relationship different between moms and fathers?
Do you think because moms tend to be more of the nurturer and the boo boo
Honey boo boo.
soother, and dads
I
are more of the
I don't see. I
enforcers?
don't know if that's. It might have been like that, probably like in 90s. You know what I'm saying? When I was coming up, but it's like now we got moms that are. I mean, dads that are moms now. You know, I watched this kid, his mom, his dad transition over, and now he's got two moms. You know,
Okay.
so that's like, I don't know. It's just it's like I don't know. How does that change the dynamic? Will he still like have a strong relationship with his like his mom or his dad? You know what I'm saying? Or will it just merge
That's a
together?
good question.
If I'm making sense about it. But yeah. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I kind of
No,
cut you off there
no,
for a
that's
minute.
okay. When I think about our son, I know you feel like he gravitates to me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more for the baby and is what he gravitates to me for.
Mm-hmm.
But when something happens, like he did something he wasn't supposed to do, his first thing was, "Don't tell daddy. I don't want
He
him to
was
be
like,
mad at
he was like,
me."
I don't want to get a boot in my butt.
You,
No, I don't do that all the time. But the boy be like, more, boy, what is your problem? You
well,
know?
and when I do something that you usually do for him, like if I pick him up from school one day, his first question is, "Where's daddy?"
Oh yeah, he's used to the chauffeuring.
But he loves you and he wants to make sure you're okay.
Oh yeah. What is not say some of the challenges. What's the things you learned from being a boy mom? You know,
I have learned to tolerate dirtiness. Not and dirtiness is not the right word, but like boys like
boy, dirty.
rocks and dirt and
Yeah,
mulch and sweat,
we
and
like that dirt
they
and
still
come
want
on.
to touch on you, and they
What?
scratch their butts and then want to kiss your face, and they're yucky.
Yo, yeah, he was like um that probably when he was a baby. I remember one time I had him up in the air. He drew, no, he spit up on my forehead. Yeah,
That's the parent rite of passage, I
yeah. You know,
guess.
you have the best, and moms have the best immune system on the planet because you get what's that, all the dirt and stuff from your
Eating
boys.
stuff off the ground,
Oh yeah.
all kinds of boy stuff, and all kinds of weird conversations that I didn't
Oh boy.
anticipate. Yeah.
You get all the weird stuff. Probably some of that. Some of that. Did you always want a boy? You think?
Well, until I met you, I didn't think I wanted my own child.
Mm.
So, um, I I I lost my thought. Having a baby was a concept for me, but my
Hmm.
experiences with my friends having boys versus girls, um, I thought a boy would be easier.
I think boys probably are easier to what's that? Probably a stint.
I mean,
Yeah,
either
not for sure.
way, totally happy. If we had a little girl though, she would be in pink ruffles and leopard print every day,
And
and
boys,
bracelets and hair bows in her hair and
I don't want.
earrings
I don't
and
want to deal with the boys. I think me as a dad, if we had a girl, I think I'll be more territorial. I'm like, I don't want you over here. Like that. I'm the only guy that could chill over here besides my friends. You know. But yeah, I don't want to deal with the
well,
boy.
there'll be a day when girls will want to come over
And then it'll
here.
be fine. They're chicks. Hopefully they won't think
Mm,
I'm a creepy
little
dad.
skanks trying to get my son in trouble.
Better not. Got too many cameras around here. I can see them climbing in the windows. Oh, what else will we actually have? What are some other mothers in your bubble that have given you good advice? You think?
Oh
Other mom,
gosh.
yeah, that's a good, advice giver or good times with. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever I I like sought out. Here's a. I mean, I've asked questions and asked for opinions, but I think more so observations have been very
Mm,
helpful for me, because what you say you're going to do before you have a kid and what you actually do are often two different things, and kids challenge you in ways that you
mm-hmm.
never anticipate. I knew that being a parent was going to be a hard job, but
Yeah.
it's been hard in ways I didn't expect. And then having a son that he had to work to catch up to the milestones, and
Mm,
required some support services and special education. It's like things I never would have anticipated, and learning to be okay with that, and learning to be okay with him not meeting the standard
oh
norms.
yeah.
That was a big learning curve for me, but I
Mm,
really, what's the most important thing, and seeing how people interact with their children and how their children respond teaches you a lot about how you want to be as a parent, how you want your kids to respond to
oh
you.
yeah, definitely.
Well, and seeing things you don't, I want to be very conscious of that. Dylan learns that you love people with time and words and
Agreed.
emotions, and not with stuff. In a world where you can get everything quickly, and you see all the things in the world that you think are magical and that you want,
Mm,
that's not how I love you, not by buying you all those things.
yeah. Yeah, agreed. Definitely. Definitely for sure.
What about you?
Hmm. What was the
Best
question?
advice or best observation you've had about parenting?
I've not had any. I'm about like you. I don't think I've had any advice on this is the way, or do your child this way. I think it's like something that you learn through life and watching other people how they, you know, raise their kids. You're like, You're looking at some of the parents in the grocery store. You're behind a kid that's like acting real bad. You're like, okay, my kid's, okay, we have to fix that before it even gets started. My kid's not going to do that, you know. So, definitely, I haven't had that type of, advice. Like I said, it's been just learning, throughout the years.
Well, and I think also for me, I felt like my mom did such a good job.
Hmm.
She definitely wasn't perfect,
Yeah.
but the values that I have, and Lord, this is where we get teary, and
Don't get teary.
and the experiences that she
Hmm.
gave me, and even when my parents separated, how she treated that, being honest with me about what was going on, and
Hmm.
that
Oh,
the
yeah.
things that we need to do, and the responsibilities, and like real life kind of stuff. It's like I want to make sure I instill those same things in Dylan, that he
Oh, yeah.
understands,
Definitely.
responsibility, and
I
that he
agree.
grows up to be a good person and wants to make even a small difference in the world, but not that he just wants
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
be given, but that he wants to do something and be somebody. That
Yeah, that's why I tell them you want your kids to be a what's that better version of you, and that's what I strive, for him to be. It's always we always say when we talk, just be good people. You've heard me tell them that all the time. Just be good people because everybody wants to always be fucking evil or we want to fight all the time. I'm like, ain't it tiring? I'm tired. I shouldn't be tired this young of just fighting, complaining, and, disagreeing all the
all
time.
that negative
Yeah, it's
energy.
just like, I remember we went to the, what was it, not getting off subject, we went to, what was it, the gay, festival?
The Pride
The
Festival.
Pride Festival. I don't know why I say gay, but it's like, just the, they want no, we went, they want no judgment. People was dressing how they wanted to dress. I felt a different kind of, what's that, aura
Mm-hmm.
walking through there. I'm like, this, can it be like this all the time? Or at least 50% of the time,
That would be pretty nice.
Yeah, man. But that's what I strive from. Just be a good people. If you see somebody in need, I know there's times you can't help everybody, but if you really, really know somebody needs help, help them out. Love people. Just be a good person. Don't be a hateful
Is
person.
that why he always wants me to give the homeless people money when we're in the car?
Yeah, we have to talk to him about it. He has a funny heart, I think, like me, and it's like, I still have a heart for the homeless, but it can't be like you said. It can't be where we're just constantly giving them, money and stuff like that. So yeah, he's like that. He's like, why we can't give him any money? I'm like,
They need money, Mama. We
yeah.
need our money too.
I'm like, yes. I'm like, don't you like lavish stuff? You know. With that being said, thank you guys for watching our episode. Hopefully you learned a few things. I hope you liked it, and joked and laughed and had a cup of coffee. You didn't even drink coffee.
I did drink some
You
coffee.
just drink some coffee
Hmm.
on there. Thank you guys. We appreciate you. If you get time, like and subscribe or just, come back again, hang out with us. Peace.